What's up and welcome to My Point of View. I am your fat and opinionated host, and the situation out there in Ohio with this chemical spill, it continues to get even more horrifying. It's like as time passes by and the days go by, you kind of hope that this catastrophe will just go away. Or at the very least, you hope that things will start getting better and you start getting better news from the situation. But that's not the case here. Things are continuing to get worse, and the government is just straight up bold-faced lying to the residents of this town. And I know that won't come as a surprise to most people, the government lying, of course. But the audacity that they must have to look the residents of this town in the face and tell them it's safe to breathe the air. It's safe to drink the water. No, it is not. And my only advice is to get as far away from there as possible if you can. I know that financially everyone cannot afford to do that. I understand that. But if you can, get out of there. Even if you can't afford it, if you could find some way, get out of there. It is not a place that you want to be right now. I don't care. I do not care what they tell you. It is not safe to breathe the air. It's not safe to drink the water. And it probably won't be for a long time. People in this area are going to feel the effects from this for the rest of their lives. For the rest of their lives. And I'm telling you all right now, I hope that people heed this warning if they're in the area to just get out. It is not worth it. It is not worth it. But finally today, the administrator for the Environmental Protection Agency arrived in town. And what did he do? A whole lot of nothing. He went and he walked along some of these creeks where the fish are popping up dead. Mind you, these creeks smell like straight chemicals. And he walked along the creeks, tried to pretend like he didn't smell the smells, and told the residents, hey, you could trust us. You could trust the government. Matter of fact, let's see his exact quote. I am asking that they trust the government. I know that's hard. We know there's a lack of trust, said Michael Reagan, the EPA administrator. We're testing for everything that was on that train. I understand people have been unnerved. They've been asked to leave their homes. But if it was my family and the government said that testing shows it's safe, I would be willing to move my family back into the area. I highly doubt that. I doubt this dude would drink a glass of water if offered. In fact, someone did offer him a glass of water and he laughed it off because they know that it is not safe. It's so very obviously not safe that we're not dealing with a situation like there's chemicals in the air and you can't tell. And you don't know, maybe it's safe, maybe it's not. You could smell it. Okay? You could smell it everywhere in this entire town. So it's not like it's this invisible thing that no one can see, hear, or smell. No, you can smell it. And they're trying to pretend like the fumes aren't there. As if, oh, it's your mind playing tricks on you. Don't worry, everything's fine. But now people are coming out and they're starting to have health issues, upper respiratory problems, skin rashes, eyes turning bloodshot red like a tomato. I want you all to listen to this clip and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Chris and Jamie Wallace and their 3-year-old daughter, and they join us now, the whole family together now. Thank you so much for being with us. Jamie, let me start with you because I know you guys got sick. The first thing I want to just make sure, how are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing fine. We were actually just diagnosed with upper respiratory infections, which ironically, I know a couple people now that have been given that same diagnosis. Just a little suspicious as to the timing of it, with the chemicals in the air.
Yeah, your little girl is so cute. She looks like she's feeling pretty good. So that's good to see. Chris, tell me, how soon after the chemicals were released, did you guys start to feel sick?
It was about 1:30 that night when we finally got out of there, and then finally when the adrenaline settled down and we were headed to the hotel to stay with her brother and his foster children for the night, that we started realizing that our breathing was just labored. And just talking was harder for us.
Did it feel different? I mean, than just a typical upper respiratory infection? Did you know that something was different about this?
I knew something was different when we left town and there was that chemical smell in your nose, as if you were in the bathroom cleaning with bleach and you walk out and you still smell that bleach in your nose. That was, I apologize.
No, it's
That was
fine.
the way um, that you felt, you smelled that. And even going back today, when we had to get our air inspected, you can just feel that the air is a little bit heavier and the creeks still have a very strong smell near them.
So you guys are now staying in a hotel, from what I understand. I believe in West Virginia. You had to leave that area after getting sick. You mentioned going back today to have the air inspected. How did that go?
Our air inspection came back good, but I actually asked for the railroad to come down and look at my house. The issue is they are testing for the air, but they're not testing the soil or the water. Our front door is about 5 to 7 steps to Sulphur Run Creek. It has embankments on both sides of it. So, when the water swells, when it rains, all that water is going to rise halfway up that hillside and those chemicals are going to go into the soil. They are cleaning the creek about 50 feet up from my house, but yet you can still see what looks like puddles of vegetable oil
Mixed with water
on top of the water floating. And when it hits a rock in the creek, it splits and goes around the rock.
Yeah.
We had the railroad actually sent the senior toxicologist out today to our house in particular. And he said that they were, the water was safe. And I said, well, we haven't even seen the results of the water test yet. He said they were coming. When I asked about soil, he said the soil had not been tested yet.
I was thinking about this today, though, because they continue to say that the air and the water is safe. But if you just go back through our history, there have been so many other situations where there have been environmental issues where they initially say things are safe and then they're not. I mean, even just think back to 9/11 and all the first responders, stuff like that. I mean, Chris, do you trust the government right now?
Absolutely not. I mean, it just seems like everybody let us down. The only people that has had our back and our support, I mean, honestly, the Holiday Inn that we're staying in, Old West Virginia, has been very good to us. The way stations in the area, obviously, our firefighters did everything they can, but nobody else is speaking out. Nobody's saying what's wrong, what's going to be happening, that everybody has rashes, everybody's coming up with respiratory infections. It's downright criminal.
Yeah, and it's just scary. I'm so glad to see that you guys at least look healthy now that you've got to a hotel. But I know, I mean,
Yeah.
you still had to leave your home. I mean, it's unbelievable. There's going to be this big meeting tomorrow at the gymnasium there at the high school that we're going to cover very, very closely, where people are going to finally have a chance to talk about the feelings that they've had, the illnesses that they've had. This story is not going away. And let's just hope that the federal government gets in there. Chris and Jamie Wallace, thank you both so much for coming on tonight.
Hey,
I just
can I
wish you
say one
guys
more
nothing
thing
but
real
the
quick?
best. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
We've been working close with River Valley Organization right now, and we have scientists coming in from the University of Pittsburgh in Kentucky, and we're having a meeting at a close by location to Palestine on the 23rd at 6 p.m. We're still working on upholding the venue, so anybody can get there. We're going to have our own private water sampling and our own private
Okay.
soil testing to help out everybody.
Chris,
There's people literally dealing with health issues that evacuated when they told them to evacuate. They weren't exposed to these chemicals long. They told them to evacuate. They evacuated, and some of them haven't come back yet. And even they're dealing with health issues from being exposed to it for just a short amount of time. So imagine living there. You're stewing in a toxic chemical gumbo right now. It's like these people are floating potatoes in a pot of toxic stew. If your pets are dying, if your livestock are dying, your fish are dying, then it's going to have effects on your health as well. You might not drop right away like these animals are, but hell. And a lot of people have been saying, like, imagine the health effects that this is going to have on people years down the road. Well, my question is, what effects is this going to have on people 2 or 3 weeks from now? I understand looking ahead into the future, but what about the near future? We don't know what may happen to these people in 2 weeks. And as I try to focus on this situation and dig into this situation in Ohio, it's incredibly hard for me to do so. Because for some odd reason, all around the country, situations like this seem to be popping off. Mind you, smaller scale. But ever since this train derailment, how many train derailments have there been? I think personally I've talked about it, maybe not on YouTube, but on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. At least half a dozen or more. There was just a train derailment earlier today. Just so happens the train was carrying toxic chemicals. And then a big factory randomly catches on fire, pouring out hazardous smoke into the air. I understand that things happen. I understand chemical spills sometimes happen. Train derailments sometimes happen. Factory explosions and fires sometimes happen. I get that. But within the span of the last week, within a span of about a week now, I don't know what is going on here, but it's like balls to the wall craziness. Trains are derailing all over the freaking place. We got semi trucks, 18-wheelers carrying toxic chemicals. Not even involved in car crashes. They're just randomly tipping over on the highway, pouring toxic gases into the air. And it's like systematically happening all over our country. And I can't help but feel like, damn, this is kind of, when you see 1 or 2, it's like, okay. Then you see 3 or 4, it's like, okay, that's kind of weird. Then you see 6, 7, 8, 15 trains derailed within a week. Then you're just like, wait, what the hell is going on here? Oh, toxic chemical fire, toxic chemical fire, toxic chemical fire. And it's like all of this farmland is getting destroyed. Water supplies are getting contaminated. Soil is getting contaminated. The air is getting contaminated. And it almost feels like an attack. Like it almost feels like an attack from the inside. Now, like I said, it could all be a big coincidence. But this is starting to be one hell of a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. I've never seen anything like it in such a short time span. And the same companies own these train companies that are derailing all of a sudden all across America. BlackRock, they got stock in all of these train companies that are just derailing and exploding out of nowhere. So, like I said, it's hard to even focus on Ohio because we have all of these other situations popping off that aren't as bad as Ohio, luckily. But my question is, when's the next big one? You know what I mean? Like, we're focused on Ohio right now because that's the biggest catastrophe that's happened this week. But if these trains keep derailing and toxic chemicals keep falling everywhere, then how many East Palestine, Ohios are we going to have in America? So, I'm going to continue to look into the situation. I'm digging deep. I'm looking at who owns shares of these companies. I'm looking at the fact that for some reason, it's extremely hard to figure out which trains are carrying what type of materials. Also, I've been looking at some of these railways and they don't look in good shape either. There's just a lot. There's so much to unpack, and it's going to take a while. But, it's like as soon as I start digging into something, bam, there goes, oh, wait, hold on. There's another train exploding. There's another chemical explosion. Oh, here's a meteorite and UFOs. It's been one hell of a start to 2023. 2023 is just getting started, and I'm ready to hop off the train. No pun intended, because I don't know where we're headed, but we're headed for a collision, a straight head-on collision for sure, because it doesn't look like 2023 is turning down anytime soon. So I'm glad that we're all here together so we could react to this craziness together. That's about all we have to look forward to right now. I'm sure I'm going to wake up tomorrow to more devastation and more chaos. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, ring the notification bell, and remember, always remain opinionated.